Hello friends, we said that the calculator would require the data on the electricity bill. More specifically, it would require the data on the energy which is consumed by the user, right? And based on that data, one can arrive at the carbon footprint or from the electricity which is being consumed by the appliances in a particular home, right? So I plan to discuss a code which I had written to arrive at the footprint for the electricity grid in our region, right? For example, let us say that I am residing in United States at a particular place where the emission factor for that grid is 0.52 CO2 equivalent per kWh, where kWh is the unit of electricity, right? And that I have to define, right? And when I define that, and if I have the data on the energy used, then it is easily calculated. The carbon footprint can be easily calculated from that. So I am now writing a simple code in Python for calculation of carbon footprint from the electricity use, right? So what is the input? The input is you define the CO2 emissions in kgs of CO2 per kWh for the electricity grid in your region. And if you remember, our carbon footprint calculator is asking some information regarding the region where you are staying, the location where you are staying. And that is, the reason is we need to put in this CO2 equivalent per kWh, okay, for that particular grid, right? This is a very important emission factor which is central for our calculations of carbon footprint from the electricity use. Now once you do that, then you define the function to calculate the carbon footprint of electricity consumption, right? So what the calculator wants to know now is how much is the kWh consumed. Okay, so the calculator would now ask how much is the kWh consumed, and once the user enters the kWh consumed, and once it is known for the calculator where the user is staying, it can arrive at the total CO2 generated because of the kilowatt hours consumed, right? So it would return, the code would return the total carbon dioxide equivalent, that is a carbon footprint from electricity use. So for example, if the user who is staying in US, okay, in a particular region which I mentioned, is consuming 500 units, so the user would enter 500 units as his consumption, and from that the carbon footprint would print the result of the carbon footprint because of her electricity consumption of 500 units in the grid which she has selected. Okay, so this is how a code is to be written for the electricity use of the user. Now one might ask that this is too general because you are getting the data, overall data, aggregate data from the electricity bill. If you want to find the carbon footprint of a particular product, like let us say from if I am having an air conditioner, I want to write a code for the air conditioner's carbon footprint. So how do I do that? So that can also be done as you see over here. Again, in my code, I would define the CO2 emissions for the electricity grid in my region, right? So for example, again, in a typical US grid would have a CO2 equivalent as 0.52 per kWh. Then I need to define a function to calculate the carbon footprint of air conditioning, right? And what would be that? It would be how many hours that air conditioner is being in use, then how many days this air conditioner is being used, and how much is the power consumption of that AC, how much is the rating in terms of kilowatts, and what would that give us? That would give us the kWh. So kWh means the electricity consumed by air conditioner is calculated as AC power in my into hours of use into days of use upon 1000. Now why is the 1000 given? 1000 is to convert the wattage into kilowatts. Okay, so this is the code for writing for calculating the electricity consumption. And once you calculate kWh, Once you calculate the kWh, that is the electricity consumed by the air conditioner, you can calculate the carbon footprint by giving a command total CO2 equivalent is equal to CO2 equivalent per kWh into the kWh which is consumed. And once that is done, then it will return the total CO2 equivalent. So finally, so for example, in this case, the AC power is expressed in 1000 watts. If you enter in your calculator the hours of use as 8 and the days of use as 30, it would calculate the monthly carbon footprint, right? And it would give us the result of the code which you have written would give us the monthly carbon footprint for that user who is using that air conditioner. So this is how Python code could be written for each and every appliances which consumes electricity so as to arrive at the carbon footprint from that appliance, right?